Chapter 2 Alien Harvest Station Southeast Substation Docking Bay 2.A A frog with its hands in its sleeves is strolling past rows of cages in the dank, dimly lit holding area. Humans are moaning, crying, begging and banging. One of them whispers something. The frog stops and leans in to hear. The human shudders, breathes deeply, then repeats, "Are you gonna eat me? Just don't eat me alive. Please, just..." The frog ignores him and keeps moving, sauntering and strutting along, taking its time, like waiting for a proper challenge from one of these pathetic creatures. This one is alone in the receiving bay, the mass holding area for new arrivals where they await transfer to, well, this one doesn't know where to. This one has not ventured into the transfer station or the creature medical bay. This one is not interfaced to the network. This one does not carry out any of the standard issued objectives or adhere to any directory protocols. It doesn't administer punishment to the creatures. This one is always being strung up in a collar and questioned, always being reprimanded for relinquishing its duties and ordered to report to the maintenance bay to re-establish connection, always being chastised by the other frogs to be more efficient. There's no reason for it to be here. The receiving of new captives is done without error by automated machines interfaced with the network. But still, it strolls along, inspecting the creatures, giving them a little scare, testing them, reading their reactions. Suddenly, this one hears frog splatter and the delayed pulse of an energy beam somewhere outside. It hops down the hall, glides like a superhero. Its robes flutter behind it like a cape as it extends its arms and waves its hands to unlock all the cages at once. Some humans stay frozen, wary of the dangers outside. Others scramble out and take off running. The frog tucks its hands back into its sleeves. Human hands. More splatter from outside. The frog with the human hands hurries to the front entrance, keeps its eyes dark, but lit up in that black way. An energy beam flies past its head and hits the wall behind, killing 2 humans on the ricochet. The alarm goes off as humans start to pour out the holding area. This one stays in cover and tries to spot where the shots are coming from. This one knows it's not the frogs shooting. They're just now responding to the alarm. They have other more efficient things to do than patrol the automated receiving of new captives. They wouldn't be using an energy rifle, and they wouldn't have missed over this one's head with a warning shot. They'd have nailed this one between the big froggy eyes or have it by the throat. Frogs don't play games, but this one knows someone who does play games. Another shot scorches past this one's head, close enough to feel the heat. It hops from cover to cover. The rest of the frogs are busy wrangling the escaped creatures while this one searches for where the fire is coming from. This one prefers to remain neutral in most cases, but it's not taken any chances this time. 2 frogs turn and spot the strange frog with the slow gait. Their eyes blaze color. But before they can question or apprehend it, this one hops to their backside and guts them. Black blood spurts across the frantic crowd. This one rips the still beating hearts from their frog bellies and tosses them to the ground before the bodies can collapse. More frog splatter. Another searing, whistling energy beam. A 3rd frog rushes in. This one parries the attack, but just as it's about to gut the alien, it splatters into a million froggy bits and this one is left wearing it instead, blinded by black blood and the brilliant pink eruption of an energy beam. This one hops away to cover, wiping its eyes clear of blood. It turns back to the chaos to see humans being sniped too, exploding into the same fleshy mess as the frogs. This one puts its finger to its temple.
"Zelda!"
He shouts with his mind, through the comm of his companion AI. 2 more frogs splatter with one shot. Another shot burns past his head, hits a pillar behind him. The base crumbles. It starts to lean and fall in his direction. He hops to a different cover.
"Zelda!"
He shouts again, but all that comes back through the comm is a sinister giggle.
"Stop shooting humans! Kill these damn frogs if you want target practice.
Do not insult me with your talk of practice. She nails 2 more frogs and 2 more humans with the cold, quick precision of a professional.
What the hell are you doing?
They are dead anyway, are they not?
No, they're not. Not until you killed them.
And you were going to save them,
I was gonna try.
like you did for the rest of us.
Yes.
And look where it got us. Just waiting longer to die anyway.
We still have a chance.
She scoffs and cocks her gun loud enough to hear over the comm.
But not if you sabotage it.
He hops to her position and puts a knife to what appears to be thin air. Frog splatter drips off his suit and splashes the invisible form, disrupting whatever cloak or camouflage she's using for just a second, showing us a still see-through but noticeable form warping the space where her body is. You son of a bitch, she growls and bucks him off. Our view pans back as they begin a hand-to-hand battle atop the high roof, chaos going on below. Her barely visible form kicks with long, limber legs in remarkable fury. He dodges and blocks, trying to gain position and subdue her while she tries to do damage. Every time she connects with a blow, she becomes a faint but visible figure of static. She lands a solid heel to his midsection and hops away with a speed that even he doesn't possess. He grimaces, holding his stomach, scanning for where she went. She takes a shot at him from another position. He dives out of the way and almost runs into another shot. She keeps firing, aiming at his feet just to make him run. She's toying with him again, but so does a cat toy with a mouse before it gets bored with the game and devours it. Her shots follow him as he rushes for cover.
Where did you get that stealth camouflage? Have you found other survivors?
She takes a few more shots and drives him out of cover again. Doesn't answer, just laughs at his scampering.
Zelda!
You're the same damned Kimura Gracie. All business. Taking a shot that would have hit him if he didn't duck.
We don't have to make it personal.
Too late. Licking off a shot that hits him in the arm. Blows a gaping hole in his bicep. He roars at the pain. His froggy eyes flare red and dance like flames. The voice modulator bellows like a digital lion.
Zelda, you... God damn it!
What? Say it. Waiting for what she knows he's thinking, but he just growls. You have nothing to say. She takes another shot that might have killed him, but he rolls out of the way and fires off a few covering shots with his other hand, hopping away to further cover.
We need to work together. There's no use in us fighting.
There's no use in anything. So you and your little pet Marilyn can go ahead and cuddle each other until you die. Me, I will fight and watch you fall long before me. Taking another shot, which hits the forearm on his same blown-out arm, blasting clean through like there was never a bone.
Zelda!
Doubling over in pain, but she's already gone. The chaos is still going on. Frogs snaring humans, humans running, beatings and shootings, screams and gurgles, cries and roars, blood and limbs and entrails everywhere. Kim gets up and limps off as fast as he can. The pain in his arm sends a shockwave through his whole body. He gathers his strength and hops with a slight lag, tearing his robes and stuffing them into his wounds to soak up the bleeding, trying not to leave a trail. Ishmael sits on his bunk rubbing the side of his face, which is noticeably swollen and red. Mary stands over him with her arms crossed. Just be glad you didn't try that with any of the other women. Tossing some medical ointment on the bed next to him. Maggie's a service vet, a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and a frog suit. Cage girl's a biter, and from the looks of your other cheek, she's a scratcher too. And Zelda. The doc and Mary exchange looks but don't say any more. Sorry, he mumbles, starting to rub the ointment on his cheek. What was that, Mr. Grabby Hands? Ishmael looks up to her, careful not to let his eyes wander. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I just kind of got lost for a minute. I'm really sorry. Well, I hope you learned your lesson, but don't take it too personal. These aren't normal circumstances, so I get it. You thought you were dreaming. I know the feeling when you realize it's a dream. You think you can do anything without repercussion, and chances are you go right for the sexual stuff. Can't say I blame you either. I am quite charming. My long, flowing hair tells of budding fertility and the romantic struggle for survival. Mary. Just remember there's a cage waiting if it turns out we can't trust you. And your new neighbor is going to be the one grabbing you in uncomfortable places. Ishmael already knows it's true. So what's her deal anyway? The woman in the cage. Did she just lose it and never come back around? I don't think she ever had it in the first place. We don't know what happened to her. She only spoke to us the first day. She was out of her mind. I'm sure we all made fools of ourselves at first. But she was accusing Kim of murder. She had to be restrained. She was trying to attack us all, screaming that Kim was a murderer, when in fact he'd just rescued her. Now she won't say anything. She just acts like an animal and attacks anyone who gets close. I feel bad for her. We all had it rough, but geez. At least when I start feeling like I'm losing my mind, I just think of her and it reminds me I got a long way to go. At least she didn't sing the damn code. They both glare at him. He sang it to me first, when he let me out of the cage. And then he, starting to lift his hand. Mary grabs his arm and shoves it back down. No, 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 the doc and Mary both tell him, just as serious as before. Ishmael stutters to get out an apology, not sure what he's doing wrong. The frogs transmit and receive data everywhere. Their networks are hyper-advanced. They use the simplest molecules in the air. They read the simplest molecules in the air. They read us, too. They're doing it right now. He gasps and snaps his head around the room like they might jump out and get him. Calm down. They don't actually know what we're doing. I mean, not really. They just receive certain data about all organic life in the area. So, when you do that hand motion, or you sing that song, the aliens, the frogs, saying it like he doesn't approve of using such a silly word, the frogs receive data on it. The only reason our codes fucking work is because the frogs don't know we recognize them. That scale you sang earlier, you mean the do, re? Mary slaps him across the face before he can do any more damage. The doc crosses his arms and shakes his head. Kim was right about him. Don't ever sing that damn song. Ever. You're gonna get someone killed. Okay, I'm sorry. Any fucking way. That scale isn't something the frogs recognize as human communication. They're very data-oriented. Hard data, I should say. From what I can tell, I don't think they make art, so they don't seem to be able to analyze or quantify artistic expression. A scale in one of 12 keys with various pitch imperfections, or slight frequency deviations based on human error and individual vibrato, should remain dark to their search for rigid structural data. But of course, the frogs are hyper-intelligent, they're always adapting, and so is their network. So if we use it too much, they'll pick up on it eventually. But for now, it seems the frogs are still tone-deaf. And a melody is the easiest recognizable sound we can make while wearing the mask and speaking through the voice modulator. Oh, Ishmael says, rubbing the side of his face. And be warned, not only are you risking everyone's life, but if Kim or one of the other frog suits catch you singing, they might not just slap you. Frog suits? The others who go out in the suits like Kim. Come on, asshole. That one you couldn't have figured out yourself? Give him a break, Mary. You already slapped him twice. Not that he didn't deserve it, but he just woke up to this. Yeah, well, if you start singing or try to touch my boobs, I'm gonna smack you. Don't take it personal. You too, Doc. I'm sure. Well, Ishmael, welcome to the dungeon, for what it's worth. If you need anything more from me, I'll be in the lab over there. But if you're feeling okay, I should get back to work. Yeah, I'm feeling fine. Good. I'm not sure what you'll do around here, but maybe you should keep that in mind. What do you mean? How to help, the doc says, walking away to the lab. Mary sits there on her bunk across from him, messing with some digital display projected in front of her. She waits for the doc to get back to his office before minimizing her window. Well, looks like you and me are bunkmates now, Ishmael. Yeah. Sorry again about before. Oh, don't worry about it. We're past that now. It's always great to have another living, breathing human around. So, welcome aboard. Thanks. Actually smiling a little at her funny, perky personality. Well, now that we're officially bunkmates, I'm going to have to ask you to move to the room next door. Oh, his expression drops. Unless you're still not feeling well, then I'd be happy to watch over you like before. Otherwise, no, I'm okay. I get it. A man needs his privacy too. You would think, until something you think should be kept private is happening right there in the bed you're sitting on. He jumps up off the bed, wiping his pants. Awesome, your legs seem to be fully functional. So maybe you should head over, check out your new digs? Telling him to get out. Sure, sure. If there's anything you want to know, I'll be here. Neighbor? Kicking her legs up on the bed and opening her display again. Should we stay and try to talk to Mary? Head to the med lab? Go to our own room. Ishmael heads to the empty room next door, a hole in the wall with two beds opposite each other. He looks around the hall and sees a few more similar rooms. They all seem empty and unoccupied, but even Mary's room had nothing but a blanket and a pillow. He sits down on his new bunk, looks around, thinking what he can do with the space. But there's nothing to do. All he has are the rags he's wearing. This bed doesn't even have a blanket. The emptiness hits him again. He remembers his family. He feels them in his gut. It's such a strange memory to have in such a foreign place. None of the pieces fit together in his brain. Even the moment he's living in doesn't make sense. Life as he's known it is so distant and disconnected. He wonders if they'll ever make it home. Do they even want to? What would there be to go home to? He thinks about his house and the street he used to live on. They seem fake, like remembering toys he used to play with as a kid, silly things with no meaning to the adult he is now. He thinks about his partner. They were best friends. They thought each other's thoughts, lived for each other. He misses her just being there to think about, to wonder how she's doing. He misses his daughters. He misses them so much it's like missing himself. He thinks about his name, Ishmael. That's what he told them when they asked, but he could have said anything. He thinks about that woman, Mary. He thinks she's beautiful and funny, but is she really? He's flooded with emotions for her even though they barely met. His feelings and desires have nowhere else to go. He keeps glancing over to someone who isn't there. He keeps feeling the urge to hug or kiss someone. He's never felt so lonely. Now that the initial confusion is over, and the constant paralyzing fear isn't seizing his thoughts, he has time to remember what hurts the most. Hey, Mary? He knocks on the wall outside her room because there's no door. Hey, buddy. I'm sorry if I'm bothering you. I know you're busy, but I just want to talk to someone. She glances over her shoulder for someone else, but there's no one, so she puts on a smile. No, I understand. A whole shit ton of shit just fell on you. I've been there. Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not the only one. Don't apologize for what the frogs did. Ishmael hangs his head, doesn't even know what to talk about without being depressing. So, what's on your mind? Mine's kind of scrambled at the moment. Otherwise, I'd probably talk your ears off. But I've been working too much, sleeping too little. Um, you have kind of long hair. Yeah, you like it? Twirling her hair around. But he's giving her another one of those weird looks, so she stops showing off. I've been here a pretty long time, I guess. Letting my hair grow out is the second best perk, behind not being dead. How long have you been here? She thinks about it for a second, then laughs. Well, rolling over and lifting the sheet, showing him the marks she made on the floor. According to my records, counting them out to herself quickly. 20, 40, 60, 80, 9. I've been here 96 Earth days. Wow. Although some of these marks are from before we manually counted out the clock again. Totally me, by the way. I was that bored. But the marks I just made whenever I slept, so there's no telling how accurate they are. I had no concept of time. I probably slept 5 times a day. Who knows? When I got here, well, I was probably like you feel now, looking for someone to talk to. There was only a couple of us, though, and mostly I was here alone while they were out on missions. How many people were there? And how the hell did you guys escape? At the time, there was only 3 of us, and I escaped the same as you. Kim got me out. I still can't believe I'm finally out. I was so scared when he opened the cage. I thought he was going to kill me. Me too. Especially because I kicked at him or something. I'm not even sure what I did. I think I tried to spit on him. Yeah, Mag did that too. I just flipped him off and stuck my tongue out. Did you really? Yeah, that's how it usually goes. You can't unlock all the cages. The frogs would figure it out. They just would. That's the nature of their ability to network and share information. So Kim looks for people who made it all the way here and didn't break. They're still fighting. Ishmael thinks about it, and a small smile actually crosses his face. That's not always the case, though. Like Doc. He noticed Kim limping and he was like, I'm a doctor, let me out. I can help you. As if these damn frogs need any help from a stupid human. They're seriously millennia beyond us. But hey, the guy was still trying, I guess. He made it here and he was still trying to talk the frogs into letting him out. And it worked. Kim had some injuries, so we dragged the doc out and carried him all the way. That's not the story Doc will tell you. And you didn't hear it from me. I don't want to get on the doc's bad side. But Kim told me once. Ishmael stops and thinks about Kim, the man who rescued him too. He still doesn't believe it's Kimura Gracie, but he's one bad motherfucker, whoever he is. So how the hell did Kim get out? Seems like he's the one who rescued everyone else. But how'd he get out in the first place? Mary snickers under her breath. According to him, that son of a bitch wasn't even captured. Wasn't captured? How was that possible? He says he infiltrated one of the transport ships, climbed in through one of the landing gear shafts, stayed hidden crawling around in the air ducts till the ship reached this station. Who would be crazy enough to try something like that? And how could he not get caught? I refuse to believe that. Believe it or not, but I'd be less prone to believe he escaped on his own after being captured, stripped, shaved, tagged, caged, and beaten to shit like the rest of us. Besides, he's the only one who doesn't have a tag. No tag? You mean he reaches to touch the back of his neck where the frogs used a laser to brand something across his shoulders? Same as everyone. Even Zelda had a tag. She takes a breath and straightens herself out after just saying the name. Who's Zelda? Mary turns to him slowly, taking a second before meeting eyes. Zelda, she repeats, like she'd rather forget the name and never have to say it again, is one of Kim's old crew. Apparently they fought together during the proxy wars. The proxy wars? That was over 100 years ago. You keep saying this stuff like it's true, but I just don't believe it. How could anyone be alive that long? Unless they're, well, proxies. Well, sometimes I don't know what's true around here either. She glances over her shoulder. But I checked him out. And he's got one, tapping her temple. A companion AI? Really? Mary nods. Well, okay, so he has an implant. But how do you know it's not some black market thing? People got illegal mods in our time. That's not uncommon. And who knows what kind of experiments the governments or rich corporations were doing? He could be some modern day test subject or military experiment. I guess anything's possible. But the parts are fucking relics. They're definitely pre-war era. I can hardly believe they're still functioning. And it doesn't seem likely that if he was some modern day experiment, they'd be using such outdated tech. Ishmael still can't take it seriously. But that still doesn't explain how he could be alive. Even if he's proxy, that doesn't make his body a machine. Human tissue and organs can't survive that long. Mary gives him a straight look, sighs. No, you're right. But here's where we really get into story time. So if you're reluctant to believe that stuff, I don't know how you're going to take this. Just tell me. I don't know what to believe. I'm just looking at the facts and I don't see how it's possible. Well, according to Kim, after the proxy wars, he was set up by the very same government that declared him a hero. You mean the United World Nations? Mm-hmm. They were the only governmental body still standing. The proxy threat was over, But they still had a huge task ahead of them, trying to rebuild society, trying to organize and keep the population civil. They were afraid that after the near collapse of civilization, one man like Kim might force his way into power and rule with military strength. The state of humanity was extremely volatile. After the war, nearly everyone had seen combat. Everyone was a soldier, and Kim was their pedagogue, a strict, no bullshit kind of leader. The world spent nearly 20 years fighting under him. They worshipped him before the final victory, even more after. The UWN thought he was too dangerous, and at the same time too valuable, so they had him frozen in stasis. They had that technology back then? I didn't think we had that technology now. It was entirely untested, but since they didn't want him around anyway, they figured if it killed him, it solved their immediate problem too. And he just happened to wake up now. Supposedly, the UWN was keeping him in stasis under the mandate that in the event of a catastrophe so great it threatened to destroy all mankind, Kimura Gracie was to be released from stasis. That's insane! And they just assumed he'd help us after they double-crossed him like that? Guess they were lucky to be dead when he came back. I'll say. And that Zelda woman, the same thing happened to her? Kim thinks they either killed or froze all of his old crew. But apparently Zelda got the big freeze too. I'm not sure what that says about her, good or bad. And she's still here? I heard the doctor mention her too. She took off and no one's heard from her in a while. She wasn't the most stable woman I've ever met. She'd been fighting since she was a teenager. I gotta think that has an adverse effect on the female psyche. It's not good for anyone's psyche, but a woman especially. She pauses to think for a second, but decides not to go into detail. Let's just say she was prone to drama, and she was very possessive of Kim. She was like his little pet. She followed him everywhere, hissed if you got too close. Then one day they got in an argument and she ran off. No one's seen her since. Do you think she's still alive? Dunno. She knew how to survive, that's for sure. But on her own? Who knows? And why'd she leave? I mean, she survived the proxy wars. What could be so bad that she'd run off at a time like this? Mary thinks about it, but doesn't try too hard to come up with an answer. I don't know, kid. Doesn't seem like the smart thing, does it? No, it doesn't. Can't say I know either of them very well. I was always down here in the dungeon, working with whatever tech they brought back or trying to dive into the network. Those two were always up in the room, fucking, or out on a mission, trying to break people out, bring back more tech. But for a while there, it seemed like every time they left, they were just killing. The frogs, you mean? Yeah, they'd come back with dozens of frog chips. Network chips, which you have to pry out of their brain, by the way. But they were never of any use. The frogs use a combination of synthetic hardware and biocellular programming. Their implants are basically living tissue and organs, and they require a host with a very specific biometric composition. So you remove the frog chip from the host and the thing dies, so to speak. And all you're left with is a messy hunk of scrap. But those two didn't care. They just kept bringing them back like scalps. Squirrel tails. It was just trophies to them. It was a game and they were keeping score. Ishmael frowns. Kim doesn't do it anymore. He doesn't kill them at all if he can help it. Like I said, the frogs know all. And what they don't know, they're always in the process of learning. So you kill a frog one way, they'll read that data and adapt for next time. What kills them actually makes them stronger. That's kind of scary to think about, especially if those two killed so many. It's a stupid, dangerous game to play. But that describes Zelda pretty well. Ishmael wonders and worries about the reckless woman. Even starts to have doubts about Kim at this point. He may be the no-bullshit hero of the proxy wars, but this is different. He's been fighting all his life, too. He's been deceived and double-crossed, and Ishmael knows the irrational things a man will do for a woman. So what about you, then? You've been here just as long, and you didn't go crazy. Mary starts cackling like he's misjudged her completely. Oh, well, I kept myself occupied with something besides killing and fucking. Maybe I'm the illogical one in that respect. But anyway, I spent all my time researching, studying the tech they brought. I was able to build myself a basic personal computer, which allowed me to start writing a few programs, which is what I do best. Pretty soon, I became aware of the network and started working on how to hack into it. Eventually, Kim brought a new guy. His name was Lizard. Well, he's still alive. I shouldn't say was, but he got sick. He's been laid up in the med lab for a while now. What happened to him? I don't know. I don't want to talk shit. He was a nice dude. I mean, he still is, but I kind of get the feeling he went the opposite way of Cage Girl. He lost it, couldn't take it anymore. He started getting real paranoid and depressed. Now he just kind of lays there. The doc says there's nothing wrong with him physically, but you can't fix everyone. Not if they don't want to be fixed. Or maybe some people just get broke and there's nothing you can do. You can't go inside someone's brain and make it right. Ishmael nods. But he was a hell of a mechanic. He fabricated all the suits, all the weapons, even some of the doc's medical tools. Luckily, I kept schematics and notes of everything he did. I'm not half as good as him, but I can fix the stuff all right. And the more Kim blows shit up and makes me fix it, the more I learn. I've even been able to make some basic stuff on my own, like the dark gloves, so we can have full mobility of our hands and still fool the frog's thermal vision. And you do all the programming on your own too? Yep. And the hacking? Yep. Wow, that's impressive. Sure is. At this point, you must be like the smartest woman alive. Ishmael laughs at her. I was pretty good back in the Sol system. Now, with everything I've learned from this frog tech, I'm a fucking visionary by human standards. I'm literally in uncharted territory. How often does a person get to enter that realm where no other human brain has ever been? And I do it every fucking day. Sometimes I think I'm actually lucky to be here. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm lucky it's me. I'm the first human to dissect this stuff and figure out how it works. I'm the first human since the proxy wars to see this kind of universal network system. The whole thing is like a dream. It'd be like if I was a crazy soldier bitch with a million frogs to kill. And don't get me wrong, it's still a nightmare. But whenever I break down and wish I could have the old world back, or wish I was dead, I always come back around to this, pointing at her screen. It makes me feel good. I know what I'm doing matters, and it's amazing to do it. I get to explore uncharted territory. It's fascinating. Sometimes I stay up working on stuff just because I'm so excited to see what happens next. Damn, that sounds incredible. I wish I could help, but I don't know anything about computers. You'll figure something out soon enough. You just got here. Yeah, I just got here, but I already feel like I'm letting you guys down. Kim's out there rescuing people. You're building and programming stuff. Doc is fixing people up. And I'm just sitting here doing nothing. I want to get up and do something, but I just don't know what. I feel so helpless. It's like being in that cage was easy. There wasn't room to think of anything else. Well, what did you do for work back home? I was a teacher. What'd you teach? Special needs children. She frowns, trying to think of something. She doesn't want to make jokes. It sounds like a fulfilling job. His patience, emotional intelligence, and people skills are probably much more developed than hers. But where does that fit in when aliens are here to harvest your entire race? You know any basic programming? No. You ever work on cars or ships? No. Handy around the house? Repair stuff? No. Are you in good shape? Sneaky? If you're thinking of me going out in one of those suits, the answer's no. I'd be more worried about someone else getting hurt because of me. Can you cook? His eyes light up. Yeah, I can cook. I'm pretty good, actually. My daughters are real picky, but even they love my cooking. That's great. Good for you. Yeah, beaming with pride, finally feeling like he has a purpose. Too bad there's no food. Ishmael's expression evens out a bit, not sure if she's joking. I mean, we have food, so don't worry. It's just all like a paste or a shot. Oh, sinking back into defeat. Oh, Mary lights up, like she just thought of something brilliant. What is it? Do you know how to clean? She asks like the word is some wonderful surprise. Well, I suppose anyone can clean. Okay then, you can do some cleaning. Right now? Not right now, unless you want. I mean, my room's kind of a mess. she hints. But, make yourself useful. Not everyone can be Kimura Gracie or Marilyn Margot, touting herself amongst legends. Just remember, though, some people are actually out there risking their lives right now. It's a lot of work just staying alive. And while the worst you might get from me is sarcasm, one of the frog suits, they might not just stop at sarcasm if they see you sitting around doing nothing all day. Well, what about Lizard? Lizard's already done a hell of a lot more than you have. No, that's what I mean. It seems like we need him back. Maybe I could help him. I guess you could try. We all hope he snaps out of it, but we're not sure what to do. We tried encouraging him. We tried leaving him alone. We tried being straight. Told him to stop being a pussy and his shit ain't any worse than the rest of us. One of the frog suits even gave him a thrashing. But everything we try just makes it worse. It's like you give him a little sympathy and he wants more sympathy. You kick him in the ass and he plays the martyr. So, I don't know. He didn't start out so well either. What do you mean? Well, first of all, he was the grabby type, narrowing her eyes at him. Ishmael hangs his head a little. But besides that, he didn't really earn it in the first place. I might joke about Doc, but at least he talked his way into it. Normally, Kim makes you prove you want out, then he gives it to you, and makes you prove you can survive. Lizard didn't do either. This was back when Zelda was still here. Those two were out hunting frogs. They caused a break just to kill frogs in the confusion. Zelda actually shot him in the leg. Kim felt responsible. He didn't want to wound a man and leave him to die. But he's a great mechanic, too. You said so. Yeah, but Kim didn't know that. He didn't try to talk his way into it or anything. He was just running away and got shot. And I suppose your escape was much more heroic? A tale of courage and bravery? Mary makes a face like she's been caught. Says, absolutely, with dignity, but not conviction. Mary stops talking for a while, messes around on her computer. Light from the projection flashes across her face, making her look a little pale, shading her cheekbones. I'm getting kinda hungry. Why don't you go whip us up some breakfast? Ishmael just stares at her. Are you being serious? I thought there was no food. I'm really hankering for some red paste. If you stare at the color long enough, you can almost taste the tomatoes. Rubbing her belly expectantly, Ishmael frowns down at the floor. Why don't you go ask Doc to show you the food supply? You can have a chat with Lizard while you're there. When Ishmael still doesn't move, she adds, or, my room is getting kind of dusty. And you're just sitting there. Ishmael sighs. This is good practice in a controlled environment. So when you start to detect jabbing sarcasm from me, you'll know someone else might grab you by the collar and yell in your face. Ishmael gets up. I'll go ask the doc about the food. Red's my favorite, she reminds him on his way out.